move on now. Last week, a leading barrister said that teenagers as young as 13 should be allowed to have sex. Today, we're asking, should the age of consent be lowered?
Sally Windsor believes teenagers should be allowed to choose when they are ready to become sexually active and not be dictated to about their age, whereas Sonia Poulton is horrified at such a statement and argues that children under 16 are far too young to be having sex.
Well, if you want to get involved in this debate, go to our website and tell us who you side on using our interactive worm, and welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Sally, you're a single mum, you've got a 5-year-old daughter.
Yes.
You believe wholeheartedly that the age should be lowered.
I do.
Why is
that? And I think what we need to look at, first of all, before even, exploring what we all think about this debate, is let's have a quick look at Europe. In Europe, especially with our counterparts, France, Spain, Germany, we have the oldest rates as far as
Germany is 14, France is 15 and Spain is 13.
Exactly. So 16 is old compared to our counterparts in Europe. Now, what we're finding is that our teenage pregnancy rates are still substantially higher than these other countries. And it just, to me, begs the question, like, why is this? Is it because young people today, we know that they're more mature than they were 20 years ago, or even when this age of consent came to pass, which was 1885. It's time for a shake-up. It's time to look at this in a different way and just recognise the fact that teenagers are becoming more mature earlier than they were.
Can I ask you a question? Is it maturity? Because the thing is, if you combine that with the fact that our teenage pregnancy rate across Europe is the highest,
yes.
Is it that our teenagers are more mature, or are they just more sexually active? Because the fact that they are having underage, that they're having their pregnancies following, they're not practising safe sex. I just wonder, is that maturity, or is that something different?
I think it is something different, in as much as I wonder whether, with the rate that we have at 16, we're getting young people that are wanting to buck the trend, and we even get these these hideous things of celebrities, like I think there's like a hideous countdown to when Miley Cyrus was going to become legal, or Britney Spears was going to become legal, and I think there's this huge build-up now to young people's 16th birthday, and that's when they can go ahead and have sex, and less focus on that fact that emotionally. There's young people that are emotionally ready to have sex earlier, and some that are later. But if you're just taking off the pressure of that big 16-year-old birthday, forcing parents to talk to their children earlier, i.e. at the age of 14, if the age of consent was lowered, it's just opening up that dialogue a lot earlier, and possibly could prevent the pregnancies that we're seeing that are still so high for teenagers.
Sonia?
Yes. Well, I have lots of problems with it. I believe that there are emotional issues attached. I believe that there are physical issues attached. I believe there are child protection issues attached to these things. Now, first of all, 16, to me, is only just about OK anyway, because I don't believe for 1 second, for the most part, people are not emotionally ready for a sexual relationship at the age of 16. Now, some of the problems that we're experiencing at the moment, and that's evident from the sort of advertising we're forced to do now, is that some young girls, and the emphasis and onus is always on young girls when it comes to the age of consent, but some young girls are feeling absolutely pressurised into it, which is why we're getting so much advertising now about young domestic violence situations. So that's one thing. The other thing is, obviously, this solicitor called for this in the wake of the whole kind of Savile thing and everything. So there is a child protection issue, because I do believe that this will make already vulnerable children vulnerable. But my thing is why do we continuously rush children towards a sexual, grown-up adult life? I'm not sure why we need to do that.
But don't you think, though, that we're discussing this from an adult point of view? Now, you hope that you have instilled in your children respect for themselves, respect for others, the fact that, don't do anything you're not ready to do, all of the things that we would hopefully have a conversation with our children.
Yes.
They don't give a damn about the law. They're not bothering about the law. They don't care whether the age of consent is 13 or 16.
Absolutely. But it's up to us as adults to actually stand up. What we've allowed to happen, and there has been a sort of progression of this from the 60s, obviously. There was lots of wonderful things about the 60s, but there has been a permissive progression towards our children. And what we need, you know very much what I believe in terms of we need to pull back our childhood from our children, not speed it up. And the thing is, imagine this, if we lower it to 13, they're going to start having sex even younger than that.
I don't believe
because that's generally what happens. Children rebel.
Whatsoever. I just don't like. And I know the brilliant work you do with looking into child protection, Sonia, and not dismissing that for a second. Sure. But you know, I really truly think that the age of consent is not going to make a blind bit of difference. I think the strength will be the fact that parents, because the age of consent, if it was lowered to 14, you know, these parents that put off that dreaded chat
I wonder
with
whether
their children will have to do it earlier, and therefore they're going to be talking. They're going to be having a dialogue with their parents earlier, which is a good thing.
You have an area where I still believe that, you know, if your child is sexually mature mentally, not necessarily physically, but decides this is what I want to do, and I'm not about forced sex here, but this is what I want to do, so I choose to do it. The age of consent is a sliding scale that is utterly irrelevant to them. But what worries me, looking at it, and which is why I'm very interested to hear what you have to say, is that we are currently living in a climate where day after day after day we're just finding out more about a bunch of sexual perverts that seem to be wandering our streets.
Absolutely.
Doesn't that just open the door and let a whole load more in to fulfil their fantasies? Because now it's 13.
I mean, totally. The point is that this has been going on for a long time. For like the last 30 years, there's been one focus group after another which have been trying to get this, and they've all got an agenda. And it started with like the paedophile information exchange. They've all got an agenda. They want to bring that age down, and it is to make children even more vulnerable. But the thing is, what about a society where we start to say, let's look at relationships, let's look at love? Why is everything geared towards sex, sex, sex?
So I assume that you would agree with me. I assume you don't.
I don't, and I think, you know, it's very easy for us to sit here and blame the age of consent for the reason that, you know, children are being sexualised a lot earlier. But it isn't about the number. It isn't about the fact that this is 16 and not 14 or 15. It's about what they see. It's about their influences and their role models.
No. The question was, what about the bunch of dirty old men that are out there?
They're still going to be the bunch of dirty old men.
Yeah, but they haven't broken the law then.
They won't.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It is sanctioning them.
But it's you know, we will argue that rape is rape.
Yes.
You know, at any age,
Yes.
and the same with abuse.
Yes.
However, you know, I don't think those dirty old men are going to be enabled
I'm not talking
anymore.
About abuse. I'm talking about taking advantage of someone who is less mature, who is 13. All right, so let's... I mean, it's difficult to get to the bottom of it, so let's just say, right, 13, all right, well, you're saying that's acceptable, that should be where it is.
I'm saying
14. What about 9?
Completely not.
Why?
Completely
Where's the
not.
boundary?
Well, and exactly, and that is the point.
Puberty
is
a big boundary in that.
Puberty is a sliding scale.
But you know what people also miss is actually the physicality of it. Young bodies are not actually made to be having sexual intercourse at that young age. That's why there are issues with prolapse and all manner of things.
It's a sliding scale as well, though. You get extremely mature 9-year-olds, you get extremely mature 14-year-olds. I'm not, you know, for a second suggesting that, you know, the 90 we should.
What about? I mean, do you feel like this? I mean, your daughter's 5, isn't she? Am I right? 5. What about when she gets towards that age? Do you think you'll feel differently then because she's your own?
I would like to think that you know, I would be able to have a conversation with my daughter about sexual maturity. Whenever she is ready to have that, you know, this is the whole thing. This is why I think 16, you know,
but teenagers
it's
do
too
think
late now. You know,
but having been a teenager myself, obviously,
we all
but I mean, you think you know more. Looking back in hindsight, you know less than you think you know, and that's why I was glad that I was given guidance and protection from my parents, because you think you know it all.
But check it out though, Holly, what we're doing, right, is we're going on what apparently these teenagers want, and we're also going on the agendas of other people. What about the parents? Parents need to stand up, take their role more seriously. I have to say, from all the people that I've talked with, they're quite categorical, and that is if you're starting a sexual relationship at 13, something's gone wrong.
This is a point that we have to leave it here, unfortunately. I mean, it would be very interesting. Let's come back and have a debate about the efficacy of sex education within our schools. Because that, if you're no matter what age you are, then unwanted pregnancy in this country is amongst the highest in Europe. So let's talk about that another day. Let's have a look at the worm now and see what you thought. And we can see that yes for Sally, 9%. Should it be lowered? No for Sonia, and that's a big 91%.
91. Okay. Right, still to come, Gino D'Acampo and the second instalment of our This Morning Soap, Willowfield.